So, hi everyone, and welcome to our exclusive AP webinar, What's New in SmartScore Certification Version 2. Today we're going to walk through the key updates to the SmartScore version 3 scorecard. You'll learn what's changed, why we've made those changes, and how you can communicate the continued value of certification to your clients. I'm Guy. I'm head of business development for the UK and Ireland here at WiredScore. I work closely with clients and our lovely accredited professionals across the region, and I'll be your host for today's session. I'm really looking forward to helping you get the most out of this session and the new version of the scorecard and all the tools that come with it. Before we get into the details, I'm going to pass over to the speakers, starting with Raluca, to let them introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, and I think there would be quite a lot of you, my name is Raluca, and I am the head of business operations here at WiredScore. And I work really closely with the product team and now the marketing team and our AP program to ensure you've got all the right resources to deliver our certifications.
Hi, I'm Sanj. I'm VP of R&D at WiredScore, so I run the team that develop our scorecards, and I'm really happy to be here to dive in a bit more detail with you about what we've done in SmartScore v3.
Hi, good morning all. I'm Rob. I am a senior building technology engineer working out of our operations team in London.
Great. Thank you all. So first up, what we'll do is we'll hear from Sanjaya and Rob, who will walk you through the major technical updates in V3 and the research and feedback that shaped them. After that, I will return to give you a practical overview of how to speak to your clients about these changes and highlight the evolving value of SmartScore certification. We'll then take a look at the tools, support, and guidance available to you as APs to help you deliver successful projects with confidence. And then we'll finish with a live Q&A. And if you have any questions as we go, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A box, and we'll try to answer a few during the session as we have breaks in between the speakers, as well as at the end. Fantastic. So over to Sanj and Rob.
Great. Thanks, Guy. We move on. Thanks again, everyone, for joining today's session. In this first section of the webinar, Rob and I will talk you through the key themes and research that has shaped SmartScore Certification V3. I'll be focusing on the why, sharing the research and occupier trends that led us to evolve the certification, and Rob will then dive into the what, explaining how those insights have translated into specific changes in the scorecard. So let's start with the big picture. In today's modern office environments, there's a growing emphasis on both efficiency and personalization. Occupiers now expect buildings that not only perform optimally, but also adapt seamlessly to individuals' needs. This shift is driving a strong demand for granular environmental controls, where occupants can manage everything from lighting to temperature with precision. At the same time, there's an increasing reliance on adaptable workspace automation and AI-powered building management systems. These advancements are placing higher expectations on the underlying smart technology and its infrastructure in our buildings. Therefore, within version 3 of SmartScore, every update introduced directly responds to these evolving needs. Additionally, we focused on enhancing the tools that support our certification process while aligning the scorecard with the realities of today's high-performance buildings. All of this means that occupiers' demands for increasingly smarter and more adaptive personalized work environments are truly reflected within this update. So, the three key themes to why we're driving this evolution into SmartScore v3 are: first, we've recognized occupiers' evolved technology needs, particularly in terms of the ever-growing user experiences, sustainability, and security requirements. Occupiers now expect a seamless, personalized, and intuitive interaction with their workspace. They demand that buildings actively support their sustainability goals, and occupiers really prioritize robust cybersecurity measures, such as secure access control, along with resilient infrastructure. Secondly, we've introduced enhanced tools for data-driven asset management. As portfolio grows and the technology within it as well, data is critical to making smart, scalable decisions around how to best optimize your buildings. And third and finally, we've increased the focus on communicating a building's technology features more clearly. As SmartScore now sets the global benchmark, our scorecards must continue to reflect the very best of what's possible in smart building technology. So there's the first bit of why. I'm now going to hand over to Rob to dig into these themes in a little bit more in detail.
Thank you, Sanj. Let's look into the first theme. So that's occupiers' evolving technology needs. Occupiers no longer just want a building with a green label. They want access to real-time ESG data to meet their own reporting obligations. Buildings must offer that level of transparency. Then we look into the user experience. As Sanj touched on a moment ago, our occupiers expect experience to be tailored to an individual's preference, offering personalized control, seamless digital integration, and environments that adapt in real time. And finally, as buildings become more interconnected, resilience and cybersecurity are top concerns. Today's occupiers expect that their systems will be protected by robust, secure infrastructure. Then looking at the key changes in occupier tech needs. First, we need to dive deeper into cybersecurity, which is critical in smart buildings to protect operational systems, infrastructure, and user data from cyber threats. Without strong safeguards, buildings face increased risk of disruption, data breaches, and even physical damage to key assets. For its occupiers, strong cybersecurity in smart buildings ensures safety, uninterrupted operations, and protection of sensitive data. And we're now explicitly recognise innovation within categories and level criteria, and even more real-world examples of top-performing buildings across the globe. More on that in the scorecard sector later. And now I'll hand you back to Sanj.
Thanks, Rob. So our second theme, enhanced tools for asset management. With so much data available, landlords have a unique opportunity to make better decisions, but only if they have the right tools. Our new features provide portfolio-wide insights, so you'll be able to benchmark a building not just against your other assets, but also by the city or country that they're within. This helps you ensure your properties remain competitive and avoid the risk of falling behind as tech evolves. And back to Rob for how that's pushed on.
Thanks, Sanj. In practical terms, here's what's new. We've significantly upgraded the Insights Hub for deeper performance visibility, both across portfolios and at asset level. We've also streamlined the certification journey itself. There are new best practice guides for all asset classes to help define the digital strategy for APs, but also for our clients. And we've enhanced our recommendations engine so you can build a more effective roadmap and measure the ROI of your technology investments. Lastly, we've made our scorecard simpler and more focused, so it's easy to connect to what your buildings have to overcome. And now I'll hand you back to Sanj.
And on to our final theme, that of communication. Technology is a core part of a building's value story now. Therefore, occupiers want tech stacks that are compatible with their own systems and give them access to performance data. At the same time, investors are asking tougher questions around tech resilience, adaptability, and obsolescence risk, as these are now becoming key parts of any due diligence process. Therefore, buildings need to communicate their tech capabilities clearly, not only to occupiers, but also to investors and to the broader market. Back to Rob on how we're helping support this in the industry.
Thanks. Yeah, so key changes in communication of our tech features. So we've made significant updates to our SmartScore tech stack to make it as visual and unified overview of all the building's technologies. It helps occupiers, investors, and managers quickly understand what's in place, and we'll talk more on that later. We're also enhancing our marketing support early in the certification journey. Projects can now promote their status as registered, pre-certified stages, and which is all helping drive leasing and visibility sooner. And we've created a more powerful certification hub so that reports, recommendations, and marketing assets are all in one place and easy to use. Now I'll jump back to Sanj.
Thanks, Rob. And the next part of this presentation, we want to take you through a preview of the SmartScore V3 scorecard. And we're going to start top down. So top down, as part of V3, we've refined that SmartScore structure, but it's still centered on its two key top-level sections, that of user functionality, which assesses how well a building delivers real-world experiences that occupiers expect, such as seamless access control and user experience, and technological foundations. This section focuses on the underlying infrastructure, the network, the backbone resiliency measures, cybersecurity that ensure long-term performance. One thing you may notice here from version 2 is a change in the credits between those two sections. It was 80-20 between UF and TF, and now it's 60-40. And that is down to a way that we've redistributed the structure of the criteria that Rob will go into a little bit later. But I think the key message here is, look, we're centered on the same sections and the same categories, but we've refined at the criteria level how SmartScore v3 is going to operate, not just from the content of that criteria, but also the architecture and setup of the criteria, which Rob will dive into next.
Thanks, Sanj. Yeah, as Sanj mentioned, one of the changes is we are moving away from the older partially met credit system. In V3, we're scoring is now feature-based, and each criteria has 2 to 4 clearly defined features, and each feature carries a specific number of credits. This makes your job as an AP much more straightforward. You know exactly what needs to be assessed, it's easy to explain progress to clients on calls, and it encourages targeted improvements instead of vague catch-all upgrades. Overall, this change brings more transparency, greater consistency, and much clearer paths to certification. And now I'll hand you back to Sanj to introduce the tech stack.
And as you can see, that same, actually, you should go back one slide, Raluca. You see that same feature-based approach works both on the UF and the TF category of criteria now. So we have a unified, simplified way of every single criteria being scored, which gives you a really straightforward mindset and approach you can take to how you score. And that'll be backed up by the tech stack. So to support everything we've just covered, we're introducing an enhanced version of the SmartScore tech stack to make it a powerful digital tool, which is designed simply to simplify and enhance the certification process for APs. At its core, the tech stack is now a centralized system that captures and visualizes all building infrastructure, systems, and features. It automatically creates building-specific technology profile, helping clients clearly see what's already in place, such as a BMS, operational platforms, and user experience apps, and where the gaps are. It goes a step further by auto-scoring all parts of the TF scorecard now. So that's a significant change. In version 2, the tech stack could only score the systems domain of the UF category. Now we're going to a world where the whole of the TF section is scoreable via the tech stack. And this enables us to help people input building data directly into the platform, as well as be able to receive a consolidated view of infrastructure, the visuals, scoring insights, and quickly identify upgrade opportunities to guide your clients toward better outcomes. It does this by auto-generating building-specific technology profiles, auto-scores those parts of the scorecards, visualizes strengths and gaps in the building's digital infrastructure, and also streamlines reporting and documentation to support client communications and certification delivery. So with this enhanced version of the tech stack, you'll gain the ability to save time during that certification process through all this built-in automation, be able to deliver clearer and more visual insights along with actionable recommendations to your clients, and simplify your own workflow with a more structured output that helps you communicate value more effectively. And with that, we'll wrap up our overview of why and what behind the SmartScore certification version 3. Thank you for your time. Really happy to take any questions, and I'll hand back to Guy to continue the session.
Thanks a lot, Sanj. Thanks a lot, Rob. We've had a few questions come in, which is great. Thank you. Please do all continue to submit your questions via the Q&A stamp at the bottom of the interface. But just to crack on with the first question. So what has driven the decision to measure innovation at category level rather than scorecard level?
I'm happy to jump on that one. Look, through all the hundreds of projects we've seen at SmartScore, we've seen things which really go above and beyond what's in the scorecard itself, and that's great to see. And we're trying to make sure that we're capturing themes and topics that we see repeatedly, but are still, at the cutting edge. So that means that we started to build slightly more structured innovation feature requirements. And these list of like example features have started to grow to such an extent that rather than listing them all in one criteria, we thought we could do a better job by structuring them within every category to give people an idea of what's possible. But also by having the innovation criteria within each category, it gives more flexibility in the way buildings can approach and really sort of differentiate themselves. And it's a place that we want to push on hard for, where buildings can start to where people can really start to extend the capabilities of their buildings if they want to over-index on specific categories.
Thank you very much. We have another question come through. Why isn't BACnet included in the BMS protocols? Much better than, for example, Modbus for data acquisition.
That's a great question. Let us make sure we go way into the details of that criteria and check what's there. We also, it may be that the way we capture the building's protocols is actually in a different criteria rather than just in the systems one. So can certainly come back to you after this with a more detailed breakdown of which criteria specifically capture which protocols and how.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sanj. The second question that we have is that we've seen growing interest in applying these methodologies to different types of buildings. Is that something, apologies, that WiredScore is actively exploring?
Again, happy to tell. You will have seen, for those of you the WiredScore APs, or keep a wider view on what we do. From a WiredScore certification perspective, we've recently launched into the industrial space. We also support in that world multi-family and single-family home. When it comes to smart technology, I mean, our strategy as a business is to continue on asset class expansion as one of our growth areas, and we will always look to work out which of the best certification fit is for any asset class. So it's certainly not a no, but it's something that we're researching deeply as we move into looking at alternate asset classes away from the office world that SmartScore lives in today.
Sanj, and just one final question. Could this framework be a stepping stone towards certifying more complex or hybrid use cases, like, for example, healthcare or public infrastructure?
I think what's really exciting about looking at office, it sort of sits in the middle between like a truly B2B setup to one that's becoming more consumer focused, with that occupier experience requirement. So it really does start to open doors into other asset classes like that. Yeah, as the two that I mentioned, especially healthcare and hospitality, where there's a more direct or a really direct impact of the technology in a building to the end users. So I think we're learning and seeing a lot of those trends coming into office. So it would make sense that potentially some of the way that we work the office world would reflectively work in those asset classes as well.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you all for those questions. I think now we move on to my section, how to speak to clients about the value of WiredScore certification. So thank you very much again. As I said, I'm going to be talking a little bit about how to talk about the value as our clients and your clients are starting to take a much more strategic and considered approach, and how working with WiredScore can help them. So we're a certification body, as everyone knows, and I often at this stage sort of find it useful to mention other certifications that you and your clients will be familiar with, such as BREEAM, LEED, WELL certifications. Whilst they focus on the environmental and sustainability side of things, we do exactly the same sort of work in terms of the process, but all focused around digital connectivity and smart technology. We help our clients do three things. Firstly, we help them understand the quality of their assets and early stage designs from a connectivity and smart technology perspective. We work on both existing standing assets and developments. For developments, and when we talk about early stage designs, the most effective time to have us involved is as you head into the detailed design phase. Any later, clients run the risk of things being missed, and this is really important, as it means all parties get the most amount of value from the certification in our process. Secondly, we then help them improve any areas that could adversely affect the building's ability to provide an exceptional connectivity and smart technology experience on delivery. So we'll be providing gap analyses and things like that to help our clients understand the steps that can be taken to proactively make these buildings better connected from a smart technology point of view. And finally, by issuing them with a global recognized certification, we are the most effective vehicle for clients to shout about the quality of their asset to the wider market, be it to prospective occupiers or even investors, depending on the strategy and the stage at which we're getting involved. We are a global certification body. We are working in the majority of major markets in the world now across a number of different sectors. This equates to over 1 billion square foot that we've now certified globally. And if we move on to the next slide, we'll also say that we're working with over 1,000 different clients across the world, which is something that we're incredibly proud of. Most of the companies that you see here on screen, you'll be familiar with already. From a SmartScore perspective, we are absolutely delighted that this doesn't just include the leaders in the market and those that are looking to drive on the cutting edge of technology, but also a whole variety of commercial real estate companies of different sizes, all of whom understand the value of working with WiredScore and SmartScore and having a smart strategy to support their delivery of smart buildings. We are also extremely lucky to be working with a vast array of consultants, contractors, and their advisors, supporting them in the delivery of their projects across the world too. Now, one thing that we speak to our clients about now more than ever is how quickly technology is evolving. Technology always outpaces the rate of change in buildings. Real estate is clunky. It takes a long time to get planning, design, build, lease, and then exit. In the meantime, technology moves incredibly quickly. The risk here is how do you know, or your clients know, that what you're designing in now will be fit for purpose in 10 to 15 years' time? How do you know that the technology infrastructure will support whatever the Alamo tech is of the day in the future? And that's really our USP. WiredScore will help you marry up what is a very slow-paced asset class with a very fast-paced tech environment. We have 2 certifications. One that you'll be familiar with on the left-hand side, WiredScore, which is focused on mobile, internet, and Wi-Fi. The other is SmartScore, focused on smart technology. And this is really a framework whereby, if implemented correctly, a tech stack works to its full capacity, allows future technologies to be implemented seamlessly, and importantly, is all focused on user outcomes rather than just installing tech for technology's sake. We're very against that as a company, and it's all about the underlying strategy that's in place. And then this falls down into our certification levels, which I hope you'll all be very familiar with by now. Stands to reason that with any of these things, really, the earlier that we're involved in projects and the earlier our clients can start thinking about a smart strategy, the higher likelihood that you'll achieve the highest levels of certification. And the last thing I just want to cover is and by way of wrapping up my section, is to quickly mention the value and the reasons why our clients work with us. And these really lie in 3 areas, and that we really implore you talk with your clients about regularly when you're speaking to them about WiredScore. Firstly, they use WiredScore certification, SmartScore certification, to help them attract and retain occupiers. We're an incredibly effective marketing tool, and with occupiers requiring space that is sufficiently set up from a connectivity point of view and a smart technology point of view, we are the most efficient vehicle for your client to use to communicate how the unit has been delivered to support that. Secondly, they take advantage of our expertise to help them design and manage best-in-class assets. This is really, really important. Internet connectivity and the underlying sort of smart technology can't be an afterthought. It's an ever-compounding issue. We all know what happens when things are implemented incorrectly. These sites become sterile and not fit for purpose, and occupiers essentially don't enjoy working there. This is now catastrophic for any type of occupier across any type of sector. And finally, increasing investor confidence. Our certification helps our clients demonstrate that they've delivered modernized and sustainable investments to both external and internal stakeholders and shareholders. And that wraps up our section. Just going to have a quick look and see if there are any questions here. Great. And there are. Firstly, I mentioned that the rate of change in technology always outraces the change in buildings. How can accredited professionals translate this into a value proposition when speaking to landlords and developers? Great question. The key here is to frame WiredScore certification as a tool that helps landlords and developers future-proof their assets. Technology is evolving constantly, and tenants increasingly expect seamless connectivity and digital infrastructure. Certification essentially bridges that gap. It gives clients a really clear, trusted signal that their building is keeping up with expectations. So APs can say, you don't need to predict every future trend. With WiredScore, you're already aligning with a global standard that ensures your building stays competitive over time. The second question here is, from your experience, which of the three main client drivers, attracting tenants, delivering best-in-class assets, or increasing investor confidence, resonates most with decision makers? And how can we tailor our message accordingly? Thank you for that. I suppose in this instance, it really depends. It depends on your audience. For landlords, I suppose tenant attraction and retention usually tops the list. Certification will help them differentiate in a competitive leasing market. But for developers, it's all about delivering a best-in-class asset that stands out at launch. And for investors, WiredScore gives them the confidence that the building has basically been benchmarked against global standards. So AP should listen carefully to clients' priorities and then emphasize the driver that matches. The framework is the same, but the emphasis should shift slightly. And then finally, when a client challenges the return on investment of certification, what's the most effective way to demonstrate WiredScore's impact using data or case studies? I recommend leading with our track record. I mentioned earlier in my section that we have over 1 billion square foot certified now and over 1,000 clients globally. And you can then bring that back to tangible examples. We've seen buildings lease up faster, command higher rents. We've got a fantastic report that we're doing with that Cushman & Wakefield have commissioned, that will be the results of which will be out in Q4, where we can see a real correlation to WiredScore certification being in and SmartScore certification being in place, and rental premiums being achieved, which is fantastic. They can achieve higher tenant satisfaction when they carry out WiredScore certification. Case studies from similar markets can also be really powerful. And if ROI is still questioned, emphasize that the cost of certification is minimal compared to the potential downside of vacancies or technology obsolescence, for example. It's really a risk mitigation, value creation story rolled into one, essentially. We've had another question here from one of the biggest challenges I face when speaking with clients is the cost of certification. How can I explain to them what drives this pricing and what value is behind it? Well, I hope that last question, the last section I answered in the challenges of ROI certification answers that. And I'd be happy to speak to you outside of this if you've got any more questions around it. Chris Choi on ROI, how many years are we looking at? We'll take this one offline, Chris. I'm not sure I 100% understand the question there. But yeah, maybe we can take that offline and we can pick it up later. In the meantime, what I'll do is I will pass across to Raluca for the next session.
Thanks, Guy. Hi everyone. So as mentioned at the beginning, I'm Raluca and I'll walk you through the tools, guidance, and support that we've got in place for SmartScore V3. So firstly, we have a new AP training for SmartScore V3. And if you are planning to work on V3 projects with us, we strongly encourage you to complete this. Even if you have previously qualified on our older version. This new training explores our new scorecard and it's going to prepare you very well for upcoming V3 projects. We have also launched a new specialty training for SmartScore Neighborhood. So SmartScore Neighborhood is our district scale rating system that ensures an advanced technology at both master plan and building levels. And do please check this out if you are working on any master plan level projects that could benefit from this certification. Then, to support you on certification delivery, we have created updated versions of some of our key resources. These include the scorecard guidelines, an offline scoring tool in Excel, and our V3 best practice guide. I'd just like to emphasize that the best practice guide is a great tool that delivers an in-depth analysis of the scorecard. It includes the detailed requirements, and also minimum requirements and actionable guidance for each criteria. This resource is tailored to those individuals in design, implementation, and ongoing operation of building technologies and services. In addition, I'd like to talk to you briefly about the AP platform and scorecard assessments. So while you can already submit buildings for certification on SmartScore V3 in the same way that you would for any other certifications, our scoring and scoring assessments is still currently being worked on and will only be available from October. And lastly, in terms of guidance and support, we have updated our commercial guidance on certification delivery to support you in both managing client expectations and setting your pricing. So please do have a read of this as it is available as usual in the AP content library. And of course, we have the Sales Hub, which provides you with all the resources you might need when you speak to your clients about WiredScore, including pitch decks, case studies, and meeting links to our BD team. That was all from me. I'll hand over to Guy to tell you about the next steps.
Raluca, we have a couple of questions that have come in.
Sure.
If that's all right. Raluca, with the new SmartScore version 3 training and speciality modules, how should APs prioritize their learning journey to be most effective with clients right away?
Definitely start with the SmartScore V3 core training. That's going to have everything you need to know about what's new in the scorecard, and then do browse all of the other resources that we have outlined for SmartScore V3. Probably the most important one would be the best practice guide. And then, as mentioned, if applicable and working on any master plan projects, then you can have a look at our neighborhood specialty module.
Fantastic. A second question, are you able to walk us through how APs can best leverage the new scorecard guidelines and best practice guides to simplify client conversations and project delivery?
So I think in a client-facing situation, I would rely on the best practice guide. Sanj, do feel free to jump in, but probably the minimum requirements is a great tool just to get a brief understanding of what they need to achieve SmartScore V3, and then if needed, and depending on what the client wants, then you can go in through the criteria by criteria view of the best practice guide.
Yeah, I think I would sort of add that with the feature-based scoring, it is very sort of like a checklist exercise. So you don't need to worry. I wouldn't worry primarily about, hitting a score or a level. Like really reflect what the building has, what it's thinking from a technology perspective, and that framework should set the best place to get to where the build to show the potential of what the building can achieve, both at targeting and how to get there with improvements.
Great. Thanks, Raluca and Sanj. And the final one, with the Sales Hub and upcoming AP platform updates, What is the single most underused resource today that you believe AP should start taking advantage of?
Ooh, excellent question.
I'm very happy to take this. I'd say probably that the sales hub is still underutilized. It's packed with ready to use materials, case studies, talking points that can really sharpen your client pitches. Many APs still try to create everything from scratch, but the sales hub saves a load of time and ensures you're aligned with our global messaging as well. With the new AP platform features coming soon, like integrated scorecard assessments, it'll be even easier to manage everything in one place. So I'd encourage all APs to make the sales hub their first stop. Cool. Thank you very much, Raluca. Now it's on to me to just basically talk about the next steps and sort of conclusion and wrap up, basically. So first up, please do complete the AP SmartScore version 3 training if you've not done so already. And likewise, familiarize yourself with V3 resources if you plan to work on a project with us. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact us at ap-support@wiredscore.com. There are no more questions in the chat at the moment, so unless any are forthcoming, I think it is now time to wrap up. And thank everyone very much for joining. We can give you a bit more time back in your day.
Thanks a lot.